Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Five Drinks or Midnight, the show where we bring the questions, guests bring the drinks, and we try to wrap up before midnight because we all know if we're out drinking past midnight, can't film it. Today we're talking to Sarah Kennedy, McConnell's Irish Whiskey brand ambassador. But before we do, like and subscribe, really help us out. Let's get started.
5 drinks, 5 questions, or midnight. Whatever comes first. Featuring
All right, Sarah, thank you so much for joining us. Five drinks or midnight, 5 drinks, 5 questions, midnight, whatever comes first. How you doing? Thank you so much for joining us.
No, I'm great. Brilliant. I'm so glad to be on. I just have drinks with McConnell's and, to have a bit of a chat with you. So it's great.
Great, and yes, thank you again. I know we've tried to do this before and over again, and let's hopefully Zoom will keep us right this time. So
Tim, any excuse for, a drink with you, it's all right.
excellent. All right. I guess our first question is what are we drinking first?
So I chose an Irish coffee mainly because I pre-made mine and I don't want it to get cold. So we'll try the Irish coffee, and this has taken a good amount of time and an amount of tries for me to perfect. So
excellent. Well, again, I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of shit for this, but you did way better than me because mine looks like crap. So, but I'm not going to waste good whiskey. So, cheers.
Cheers. Nothing beats an Irish coffee, right?
Yeah, you can't go wrong. Like I was never really a big coffee drinker, and then until I think this year really kind of turning it around when we really kind of started spiking it with a lot of Irish whiskey, and everybody started doing a lot of these Zoom calls, and they started just doing, let's start with an Irish coffee, and I'm like, oh well, okay, and then you know what, it kind of just grew on me. Now, yeah, totally down for it. So.
And then when you see someone post one on Instagram, it's like, I have to have one.
Yep.
It's like, do I have any double cream in the cupboard? Usually do have some double cream, especially over Christmas time. So yeah, I've kind of tried to take a break from them because I was drinking them so much at the weekend. All that double cream isn't great for you.
Well, I mean, not our first question, but really just, I mean, what can you tell us about McConnell's?
Okay, so McConnell's is a 5-year-old blended whiskey. And it's, we're based here in Belfast. It's a Belfast brand. And as you know, it's an old historic brand that is coming back. And, it's a bit like the whiskey itself. The brand itself has gone through a lot in the past. It has gone through hardships. It has gone through prohibition. It's gone through wars. And it had a huge fire which burnt like 500,000 gallons of the whiskey at one of their bonded warehouses in Belfast. So, it's been through a lot. And then now, with the Irish whiskey renaissance and the way things are in the Irish whiskey industry, it's time for it to come back to Belfast. And the blend is our, staple product. And, we were wanting to build our distillery here in Belfast. It's the distillery is not built yet, but we want to build brand awareness and have everyone, on board and everyone fall in love with the brand the way that the people in the team have fallen in love with the brand.
But okay, well then, on to question one, how did you become brand ambassador then?
Okay, so this is a bit of a funny story. So, I've always been interested in whiskey and in spirits, and I worked in bars as a student. But I did, after I graduated university, I went into sort of a corporate environment and started working in the insurance industry. But in Northern Ireland with SME business, you do get a lot of experience with different industries, construction industries, manufacturing, production. So the brokerage that I worked for dealt with McConnell's brand, and I was invited along to one of the events. And I just got to meet the guys and got to meet the people who were involved, and everyone was so enthusiastic about it. And the one thing that really shone through is that everyone has been so enthusiastic about Belfast And Belfast City is where I was born, and it's where I was raised, and it's where I've always lived. And as you know, I'm a keen advocate for Belfast City. But also whenever I tried the whiskey and I seen the bottle, I was just, really blown away by the whole concept. And yeah, it just hooked me in. So, went off from that, did a lot of liking and sharing, really, really loved the brand, was followed the story. And then I got a call one day to say, would you be interested in working with the brand? Because they seen that I was keen, they seen I was enthusiastic about the brand and also about Irish whiskey and about Belfast City. And had a few conversations and was just, I was enthusiastic. I knew I was going to do it from day one. From the minute they asked me, I was like, of course I'm going to. So from then, I'm on board now about 6 months, just over 6 months, and I just haven't looked back. I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Excellent. Yeah, the bottle is absolutely gorgeous. Matt Healy and I were having a full geek fest about it. So like it is just it is a gorgeous, gorgeous bottle, and the liquid inside is even better. But yeah, it's I haven't seen a bottle like this in a very long time, and it's just so pretty. So.
And it's actually it's an interesting story because I hadn't actually seen it, but a few weeks ago I seen the 750, which in Europe it's 700. So I hadn't actually seen the 750, but I seen it the other week, and I mean there's no difference. I was expecting it maybe to be a bit longer, or the shape to be slightly different, but it isn't. It's just it looks exactly the same. And you get that same feeling from the bottle, and everything about it is exactly the same. So that's what I love about it.
Excellent. Yeah, no, it's just, I mean, the gold, everything, like it's just, it's perfect.
It's like Belfast. I just think it's everything about it. Someone actually pointed it out to me. I don't know if you've been to Belfast, any of the old pubs.
Yep.
And they had sort of these little old booths that they weren't necessarily frosted glass that you sat in, but if you look at the bottom of the bottle, they look like this. So you could see through them, but you wouldn't have been able to make anyone's faces out. So it's almost like this privacy that you used to have when you went to the pubs in Belfast. So that even little elements on the bottle like that really remind me of Belfast City. So
yeah, I've only been to Belfast very little, but the Crown, I think, is like that. Every little booth was a snug, so it was just really it was a gorgeous. But yeah, that I'm looking forward to adventuring, hopefully, to Belfast this year and enjoying the Belfast Whiskey Week and
Belfast Whiskey Week.
some drinks with you guys, because that's really need to travel. And again, Paul's threatened me with a good time, so you can't go wrong. So
no, and actually see people, because I can't remember who I was chatting to, but I've met so many people in the industry over the past 6 months through Zoom and on social media. And I've met a few of them in real life just on the off chance. And, people, like I'm a tall girl, I'm 5'10". And I don't think people think that they're going to meet me and I'm going to be tall, because it's always the same thing. It's like, especially when we're wearing a pair of heels. So it's funny when you meet people in real life, it is different. You get a different vibe. So it'll be interesting to meet everybody.
Yeah, no, it'd be great. Yeah, it's I did not know you were that tall, so that I suppose even with heels, it's probably even larger.
Yeah, about 6'1" in heels. Yes. good crack,
Amazing. Well, all right. Well, that's question one. Super easy. Should we move on to drink two?
Yeah, of course.
On to question two. What are we drinking?
Drinking an Irish Manhattan. So just a Manhattan with an Irish whiskey, which is McConnell's Irish whiskey.
I can rock that out, no problem. That's super easy.
Easy peasy.
Fucking coffee and
shake and cream, and it makes a mess in the kitchen.
Yeah, you should see it. The whole kitchen is destroyed. Like I have 3 empty glasses over there. Just
cheers. This is one of my favorites, so
you can never go wrong with the Manhattan. That is a classic cocktail, and it's damn fucking good with this. So
it is, and it's almost sounds a bit silly, but it makes me feel kind of sophisticated, drinking it.
Yeah, Manhattan's always you always feel so fancy. I think maybe it's the coupe or the way, but yeah, like I don't even. It's just even the pinky just goes out for a
Just
reason. I don't know
pops.
why. Like it just
The
like
pinky pops.
yeah, yeah. I don't know why. It's nothing else. Like it doesn't do it on any other drink. But as soon as I grab the cup, the pinky comes out. So it's
Awesome.
uh, uh all right. Well, then on the question two, you kind of talked a little bit about it in the first question, but what made you fall in love with McConnell's?
Um, there's loads of things that made me fall for the brand. What it looks like, the concept behind it, Belfast City, everything, everything that I said previously in the question before. But also, do you know whenever you are introduced to something, and whenever you're introduced to something, you have such a good time, and you really connect with that time. So it was maybe, and the other day, we celebrated our 1 year anniversary, and I was at a bar crawl in Belfast this time last year on the 10th of February. And I don't know whether it was because it was my last, big blast of a night out before lockdown, but I had such a good time. I really did. The people were great. I got to meet a lot of the guys from the Belfast Whisky Club that I hadn't met before. I met really great females in the industry too, which was great. I just had so much fun. And it wasn't even just to do with the brand as such, but the brand, it fitted really well with the brand. It's like good crack, Belfast. Let's bring this back. Let's give the city, its first Belfast distillery. All of those things really made me fall in love with the brand before I even contemplating working for the brand. So I'd already fell in love with it before that. Then as time went on and sort of the months during lockdown, the product was available here. I bought it, I drank it, really started, enjoying it as my staple whiskey, as the product that I had on the shelf for a nip or for an Irish coffee or for adding to a cocktail. And I fell in love with it. I was, really supportive, liked all their posts, loved what they were doing, even though it was a tough time, a tough period during the industry. And yeah, whenever I got the opportunity, as I said, I jumped at it. And in the first few weeks of working for the company, I really seen the need, the want of people in the industry for the project to work and for the brand to succeed and for, a Belfast distillery to happen. Because it's not just me or others in the team or, people who are involved in the project. It's everybody really wants it to work. And from joining Belfast Whisky Club, which I go to, I rarely miss a Belfast Whisky Club tasting on Zoom. Everybody is just on board and love it. So that's really what made me fall in love with it. That it's just it is what it says in the tin. It's exactly what the city needs.
Absolutely. And two, I think, you got me hooked. I mean, when I started following you on Instagram, I think one of the great things that you got me hooked in is one, it's a really great whiskey, but two, you were doing something that was a little bit more taboo than what I've always been told about is you were making cocktails with it, which I think is absolutely freaking amazing. And I know we talked a little bit about, the Manhattan and everything, but which is why I love when you do, like, you've done your cocktail giveaway, but like you always are coming back, like there's always a cocktail like segment on your Instagram, which I absolutely love. Is there, other than the Manhattan, is there a cocktail in your year that you've kind of experimented with that you really really enjoy?
Well, I actually need to give a big shout out to this one because I did do a cocktail competition, which was insane. I loved it. Loved every minute of it. Loved every one of the entrants. I got about 18 entrants from Belfast, and they were real serious entries. They had stories behind them. They had homemade ingredients, and it was no joke because whenever I first did it, maybe I was a bit naive and I thought people would start, playing with stuff and ingredients at home. And they did, but in a totally different way beyond I imagined. And the guy that actually won, a guy called Connor here, who works in a local bar in Belfast called Babel, great cocktail bar. He came up with something, it was called Things Take Time. And it really hit home with whiskey because whiskey, things take time. You can't make a whiskey overnight. You need to age it at least 3 years. Most people age it for more than that. We age it for 5 years, So that in itself was great, but also the story of McConnell's and how it came back, and the story of Belfast City itself, because Belfast City has a long history, of positivity and industrial growth, and then it has the troubles and what it went through, and now it's coming back again, and things do take time. So the name itself really got me, and then whenever I tasted his cocktail, which I wasn't expecting to love because it's time infused McConnell's, it's got elderflower. I didn't know whether it was going to work because it didn't sound like it would be up my street on paper, but when I tried it, oh my god, it blew me away. So a cocktail like that, which definitely when things open up again and when the bars open up again, I want to get Connor to make me that cocktail on a night out and try that, because that was insane. I loved it. I loved everything about it, and I just have to give him a big shout out there as well.
It looked fucking amazing. So like,
just even because he suggested that everything down to how you present that cocktail was him. I know we made it in office, but he wanted us to present it the way that I presented it in the picture, which just, it goes over and above. And I do think mixology, as you said, working with cocktails doesn't always get done, especially in a whiskey brand, because whiskey itself doesn't need cocktails. It doesn't need them. But in the market that we work in now, and it is so diverse, and people want to get introduced, people want to drink whiskey, people want to drink the way they want. And sometimes they actually need to be told or directed of how they drink a spirit. So it doesn't have to be neat, because not everybody's going to be a whiskey neat drinker like me and like you, So a cocktail and having fun with it, drinking it with friends, especially whenever you're bored at home, and doing a cocktail night on Zoom, things like that, or the cocktail that I did, a lot of the guys who got involved and the girls who got involved in that competition they said to me, I was blown away. I was like, I'm so thankful. And they were like, no, but I'm thankful for you to give us something to do, and something, we can put our creativity into these cocktails. So yeah, I would do it again 100 times over.
Yeah, I make it stateside so I can enter.
Yeah. So you can get involved too.
Yes, I'd love to make a cocktail.
Shoot me your idea and I'll make it. I'll make it live. So yeah, we'll move on to whiskey neat in the Whiskey Wednesday glass, which I love.
Excellent. Hang on, let me go ahead and just get a little pour. So
and if anyone breaks it, I'll be so annoyed.
Well, we have more, so don't worry. And batch 2 is coming out.
I don't really get annoyed. My annoyed is just, oh, that's really annoying.
Excellent. Well, cheers.
Cheers.
Question 3 then. It's a little bit of a weird question, but it's always just fun to see what other brand ambassadors are drinking. If McConnell's didn't exist, what would you be drinking?
I can only answer this question like openly and honestly, like genuine. The very first drink that I drank was because my father drank Irish whiskey. He drank Scotch whiskey too, but he drank Irish whiskey. And the very first drink that I had with my dad in Ballycastle up the north coast was a Powers Irish whiskey. And it was, I don't know, now looking back on it, and if you see, because my dad would have drank heavy peated Scotch whiskies as well, but it was probably the most tame on his, the most smooth, as people use smooth, and then everyone doesn't like the word smooth. But whenever I tried Powers for the first time, it didn't shock me. I wasn't, taking a step back, and I was only 18, and I was probably used to drinking like WKD or West Coast Cooler, or those alcohol pop drinks that you would have been introduced to whenever you were 18 years old.
Oh, no.
Okay.
So whenever I did have a Powers with my dad, the first sip was like, whoa, that is crazy. That's pure alcohol. And then I just had a glass neat, and had it sitting there. It had lots and lots of ice in it, and you started to get flavors from it. And the only thing that I can remember was, like caramelly flavors that you would have associated with yourself as a kid, where you would have had, I don't know if you have it in the States, but there was a bar, like a, Cadbury's, Cadbury's,
Oh,
chocolate.
chocolate. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So you would have had like a caramelly, like a Cadbury's Freddo is basically just a caramel Cadbury's bar. And there was just notes from that whiskey at the time that shone through. And they're the notes that resonated with me through Irish whiskey and my Irish whiskey journey. So I would probably be drinking a Powers Irish whiskey, and I know that like Powers John Lane would be one of my favorite Irish whiskeys. So yeah, it sort of like stayed with me and resonated with me through my Irish whiskey journey. And then obviously whenever I was introduced to McConnell's, not that they're the same, because they aren't. Every Irish whiskey is different, but there's elements of it that really hit home with me when I tried it. And it maybe is that caramel note, the honeycomb note. It's 42%. It's a bit of higher ABV than the Powers just original Go label, but there's elements of it that hit home. And what I've learned through drinking Irish whiskey and tasting Irish whiskey is that everyone's different, and the reason for that is because if you don't like licorice, you're not going to taste licorice in a whiskey. But if you like licorice, you'll find those notes in Irish whiskey. So what you like and your tastes and what you're used to in your memory, you'll find in Irish whiskey. And that's basically what it is. Whenever not an Irish whiskey, any whiskey, but whenever I tried McConnell's, there was elements of it that I was like, I'm getting this. I'm getting what I got from my previous experience with Irish whiskey. So yeah, to answer your question, it would be a Powers Irish whiskey Go label.
I mean, I think that's fucking awesome, because again, you turn me on McConnell's, you love cocktails, and you want to drink Powers John's Lane. We're best friends for life. Like honestly, like you're gonna be a great drinking buddy. I can't wait to get to Belfast. So
well, that's it. And what I was saying to you there before, because my dad, I'm 29 years old, right? My dad, whenever he introduced me to whiskey, was 50. And so he only started his whiskey journey around the age of 50. And that in itself shows you how much whiskey has come on in those 10, 11 years. And my dad was a businessman and started drinking scotch because he mingled with other businessmen. But even there you go. Like in the past 10 years, whiskey has come on leaps and bounds. It's not just about, a smoky, heavy peated whiskey, which I have now come to love, which is crazy. I really have. I've come in the past 6 months, come to love a peated whiskey. But it's not just about that. It's about all of the different tastes and flavors that you get from whiskey. It's just so it's interesting, and it creates conversations that you don't sit and have about other spirits that I have experienced. Like I don't sit and have these conversations about. Honestly, don't sit and have these conversations about gin.
yeah.
Like you can have different botanicals and you can enjoy a gin, and gin's brilliant. I love gin. I love a gin and tonic, but not even the debates, but the conversations that you can have from a whiskey is incredible.
Yeah. Now, again, a gin is for me. It's always like, again, it's a great drink. There's many gin cocktails that I love, but it's very pretentious, and I always feel like when I'm drinking gin, I need to have like a monocle or something, and just be like, kind of in that situation. And where like whiskey, I think is just everybody can relate to. I mean, even if you don't like whiskey, there's like you can have a conversation as to why you don't like whiskey, like to that point of like,
Yeah.
oh, it's burny or it's smoky or whatever.
But there's something in that that reminds me of something that I don't like. That's the biggest thing. Whenever you learn about the different flavors you get from whiskey, so whiskey doesn't have sugar in it, it doesn't have salt in it, but it reminds you of something that is maybe sugary or salty.
Yep.
So, and it depends on what that is. So if you've never, and this is what I find incredible, this is information that I've found out in the past 6 months, is that if you're dealing with, people from a different country that maybe don't have experience with something. So in Ireland, actually specifically in the north coast of Antrim, they love honeycomb and yellow man and things like that are a big thing in the north coast, but not everywhere around the world loves honeycomb or yellow man. But whenever I drink McConnell's, I get a real note of like yellow man and honeycomb, whereas not other people in other countries may get butterscotch or something that
Sure.
they resonate with. So I find that very interesting.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that point too, the sensory of whiskey always brings you to something else. Like you don't take a sniff of vodka or a sniff of gin and be like, I totally like this smells like my grandma's bathroom. Like that is not like a good like smell to have, like that sensory kind of thing to have. Whereas like you can be like, I get Christmas cookies. Like this takes me back to
Yeah.
like 5, and like like gin
Or
or
like
vodka.
apple pie,
Yeah.
like the crust of an apple pie, like or like a wheaten bread. Wheaten bread is massive in Belfast and in the rest of the country. It's a wheaten bread. When you smell it coming out of the oven, you get that with a whiskey. So there's so many elements of it that you just kind of go, I just love it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, this is just a damn good sip.
Well, that's it. Like with McConnell's, there was a load of notes that remind me of my past. Like you get caramel, you get butterscotch, get honeycomb. People have, I don't know if you have it in the US, a crunchy bar.
Yeah.
Like a Cadbury's crunchy bar,
Yeah,
with honeycomb in it. Kind of reminds you of that, but it also is quite spicy, but in a like a savory way, like a white pepper rather than a black pepper, like a white pepper. So it's that kind of spice, and it lingers in a way that is a welcome linger. Like you want it to continue to linger. So that's what I love about the blend.
So on to question 4. Drink 4. What are we drinking?
An old fashioned.
Excellent.
Which is, not even ashamed to say it, is my favorite Irish whiskey cocktail.
Excellent.
Love it.
What makes an old fashioned just your favorite?
So whenever you're introduced to whiskey and you drink it with ice, and maybe not now, because I can drink whiskey neat now, but when you add a bit of sugar to whiskey, it's definitely more appealing. So whenever you have an old fashioned, especially when you're on a night out and you have an old fashioned, and you want to be a wee bit more sophisticated and you're having an old fashioned drink, it really works. And I can honestly say this, and I don't know whether everyone will agree with me, but whiskey is the one alcoholic drink that doesn't really bug me. Whenever you wake up the next day and you have to get on with your day, whiskey doesn't bug me, doesn't get on me, So an old fashioned is my favorite cocktail that you can have with Irish whiskey or any whiskey, because it doesn't mask the flavors in the whiskey. It's not too, I do love cocktails, not putting cocktails down because I'm a cocktail lover, but with an old fashioned and a whiskey drinker, someone who loves whiskey neat will also enjoy an old fashioned.
Excellent. I think there's an old meme or an old joke is that how did God stop the Irish from controlling the world? He gave them whiskey. So like again, I think
That's it. Give
yeah,
them whiskey, just
yeah,
like because it's just makes everyone happy.
yeah.
Uh,
I'm right there with
Drink
you.
responsibly, but
Yeah,
but whiskey's awesome.
yeah. That gets us on to question 4 then. Uh, Irish whiskey is seeing a bit of resurgence across the world, and you guys being on a resurgent Irish whiskey yourselves, where do you think Irish whiskey is going? Or better yet, even what's next for you guys? Not looking for a scoop or anything, but more of just like, where's
Yeah.
McConnell's going next? And where do you think the category of Irish whiskey is going next?
Well, like you know yourself with Irish whiskey, there's something new every single day, and it's one of those things that like I never had Twitter before I was in the industry, but now that I'm in the industry, I am obsessed with Twitter because it's constantly moving, and it's not even just like a release for here or a release for Europe or a release for America. It's just exciting, and everyone just wants to post about what they're doing, you know. So like whatever you're doing as a brand ambassador, people are excited to comment under your posts, share your posts, speak about your posts. It is a massively exciting industry to be involved in, like insane. And it is only and as you know yourself, it's only a fraction of what it was in the past. Because before the Kofi Still was introduced, Irish whiskey was huge, and before Prohibition and war times, Irish whiskey was incredible for the economy in Ireland. And now that's really coming back. And you have people like Finn O'Connor, and you have, different experimental uh, whiskies that are coming out. And it's really exciting to be a part of that. So McConnell's itself as a brand is coming in the middle of that, coming in 2020 whenever Irish whiskey is really in it. Like even if you look at the statistics from last year to now, there's already 5 or 6 distilleries that have like grown from that time. So it's an incredibly exciting time to be a part of Irish whiskey. And when it comes to Ireland as a whole, Ireland is, massive for Irish whiskey, but whenever you come from, the north of Ireland, and you've got the 6 counties of Ireland, and they're now playing a massive part in Irish whiskey. It's incredible to be a part of that, because, and I don't know whether I actually haven't maybe spoke to you about this before, Tim, but the more I've worked in Belfast city centre, the more I've realised that Belfast did used to historically play a huge part in Irish whiskey. So you had huge brands that were involved in export of Irish whiskey at the time. And if you look at the history in Belfast, there's art, and there's historic memorabilia in Belfast City. And I just feel that Belfast had a huge contribution then, and it needs to have a huge contribution now, because Dublin is the capital of Ireland, but Belfast as well plays a huge part in the island as a whole. So it's really exciting to be a part of a brand that wants to bring a distillery to Belfast, because Belfast is an industrial city, and it was ahead of its time in its production of the mills, and it's ahead of its time with like the shipbuilding, Harlan Wolff, so it's exciting to be a part of a brand that wants to bring a distillery to Belfast. So the future for McConnell's Irish Whiskey is that we plan to have a distillery here in Belfast City, and I am massively excited about that, and I cannot wait until that is the day whenever you can come over and you can visit our distillery in Belfast.
I can't wait for that day either. That's going to be amazing. So I'm really, really excited for that. So, and I think that's, yeah.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that. Absolutely. So, on to our fifth and final drink question. What's our last drink of the night?
It is a McConnell's long drink, which is just McConnell's ginger ale.
My ginger got delivered as an orange ginger instead of regular ginger. So, let's see how this. I'm sure it'll be fine, but it's
No, orange ginger is really good. They actually do one here, Fever Tree orange ginger.
That's what it was. So
Is it?
Yeah.
It is. It is lovely. Like I used one. It's like a Belfast ginger ale. It's made by a company here in Belfast. But did you know that ginger ale came from Belfast?
No, I did not.
Yeah. So it actually was invented here in Belfast, which is incredible. I didn't know that either until I actually spoke to a guy from Longbridge, and he done a Belfast ginger ale, and he told me that the recipe was actually developed here in Belfast City.
Oh, I did not know that.
I did not know it either. But yeah, that's what I used. But Fever Tree do a really nice orange infused ginger,
Yeah,
which is really nice.
And that's what I ended up doing, and that's why my drink looks so dark. But yeah, ginger.
But it is lovely. Like
yeah, no,
ginger ale is lovely, and Fever Trees are great. You know, they have like real. You can taste the burn of the ginger on the ginger ale. But anyway,
very nice. All right. Cheers. Perfect. All right. So our last question of the night comes down to our Whiskey Wednesday coin. You can flip it, you can spin it, you can do whatever you want, but the coin gives the answer. No need to get anybody in trouble. It's just a nice way to end the night. Do you have your Whiskey Wednesday coin with you?
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. So, is it true that the Whiskey Wednesday coin taught your daughter a new word?
She's forgotten it at this stage, like, but
Fuck yeah. Whiskey Wednesday, educating kids across the globe. So
she loves to read, and she's got to that stage now where I can no longer spell curse words out. I have to just say like whipsie daisies or something. I can't say sh1t anymore because sh1t. Mommy, what's sh1t? Because that spells, and then she writes it out, and then she knows what I'm talking about. So I've passed the stage of spelling words. And so whenever this coin came through the door and she is inquisitive and she's seen it, I was like, ah! No, don't touch it.
Well, Morris O'Connell told me that he was cursing my name the other day because his son found the coin and he's a teenager, and and anytime that now they ask him a question, he just flips the coin and he just gives them and I was like, that little punk, but that is genius. So,
but underneath it all, you're probably like, yes.
Yes, I am very much
rebel. So. Because to be honest, it's brilliant. But see, honestly, whenever she's seen this, it's sparkly, it's shiny, it has words on it. What child wouldn't want to read this or be intrigued by this coin? Because I don't know if you know this, but kids are obsessed with money.
Oh. And
like the tooth fairy and getting coins. So whenever you see a shiny coin that has words on it, you go, what does it say? Exactly. And so, yeah.
All right. Well, that's our 5 drinks. That's our 5 questions. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us for the second time. Hopefully Zoom has recorded this one properly. But again, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. And I really look forward to when we can drink again. I will.
In person?
Yeah, in person. So I can't wait for you to show me around Belfast or vice versa, me showing you around New York. So.
Oh, please do, because I have actually never been to the US. So
well,
I'm there.
Your partner, your daughter, come on over. We'll show you around. We'll get into some trouble. We'll have a good time. But Again, thank you so much.
Cheers.
Cheers.